Hey, hey.
Hey,
Hi.
how are you guys?
Good. So I'm John. No
I'm
Tiff.
Federico
And
And
Tiffany.
Federico, where are you joining us from?
from Paraguay, Asunción. I'm not from here though. I'm from Italy,
Right on.
from
And
the
what's that
south of
fancy
the
shirt you've
world.
got on?
So this is shirt that a good friend of mine and OpenWISP contributor from a long time did, uh, especially for when we visited an event called Google Mentor Summit when we went there in 2018. So, of course, it has the OpenWISP logo, right? That's our project. We are a network management system built for OpenWRT, which is a Linux distribution that is used for routers, um, wireless access points, wireless mesh devices. It's very widely used in the networking world. So our system is a modular application which provides a web interface and REST APIs and some command line tools or Python libraries. That they are all these tools are centered toward allowing users to manage their network. What does it mean? It means seeing the devices, locating them on a map, seeing how they're doing, being alerted if something is not working as expected, being able to change the configuration from a central place, managing users and permissions, also rules for allowing users to access network resources like Wi-Fi or internet access, and any limitation and so on. So that's what we do.
Right on. More
We've been
importantly,
working
Federico,
on cleaning sites for a few months now.
more importantly, even than Clean Insights or OpenWISP,
Right.
what are you
What am I
drinking?
drinking?
Yeah.
Right now, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Just water because I had my coffee just a little bit sooner than a little bit earlier than this, and I try to limit my caffeine intake.
That makes one
Something
of
very
us.
common here. Something very common here is called terere, which I would have liked to show you, but I just lost one of the tools which is needed to prepare it, and I couldn't do it. So terere, if you ever heard about mate in Argentina, it's similar, but it's served cold because here it's always warm.
Ah,
So now outside here it's 32 degrees, 33, and it's not even that hot actually.
really?
Can be worse.
Whoa. 32 degrees Celsius,
For
yeah?
Saturdays we are expecting 37. Yeah, like it's a constant sauna.
Right on. It's about 19 degrees and windy here, but 19 Fahrenheit, so like negative
That's great.
7 or something. It's
That's nice.
it's ugh.
19.
Fahrenheit.
Oh, right, right. How much is that?
Yeah. So accordingly, I am drinking coffee. And unfortunately, I don't have insightful beans. I have an inferior roast, but I've got coffee. I got my little hedgehog man flying an airplane, so that's delicious.
-7, -7.
-7, and then I've got a secondary beverage today, which is also water, um, but it is the watermelon mint flavored Nixie. So I've got that. I got to stay hydrated. Tiff,
Yes. What am I drinking today? This morning, I'm drinking coffee, per usual. I love my coffee. I made some espresso, but sadly, I usually pull like 2 shots of espresso in the morning. I know it's a lot.
what a life!
But we ran out halfway through the second pull of beans, so I'm like having one and I'm just milking it very slowly. Yeah,
I
but
need
I
to
love
try your tea, guys.
Have you tried it? The
Not yet,
Clean Insights OT. Okay. Well,
not
we
yet, but
need to.
I will.
Yeah, send us a picture, please. We love to and hear how you like it or don't like it.
I like tea.
Next
So
time we have you on, we'll have to see you drinking the tea. So, can I ask you? You and I have talked about this somewhat offline, but you came into this bravely said, "I want to know more about what's going on with OpenWISP." What questions made this compelling? What did you want to know about your world, about your users? And maybe tell us a little bit about like who are your users and what are they like that you've gleaned so far from interactions you've already had?
yeah, so that's a good question. Um, Knowing the users in of an open source project is always challenging, right? Because as I always say to everybody, you never hear from users until there's something wrong.
Mm.
So when nobody gets in touch with you, you don't know if whether it's just that nobody is using your work or it's just working and they don't get in touch with you.
Mm.
Then if something doesn't work, they get in touch with you, and that's when you start hearing about what they're trying to do and what is not working out for them. So the users I have more contact with, they're mostly organizations that work in IT in one way or another, and usually they are from um, companies who or municipalities, regions, let's say government bodies who are uh, using OpenWISP to provide public Wi-Fi in cities, government buildings, universities, and so on. That's how the project was born, by the way. It was born from that basic use case. Then it evolved. Now we also have a lot of users from um, IT companies which have some sort of networking service that they need to automate. It could be a company producing software which controls lights, and they install some hardware uh, into the network of their clients, and they need to reach that network. So they deploy some devices with OpenWRT, which they use as a gateway to enter that network and just control the hardware they have there. And they deploy this through OpenWISP because OpenWISP is very flexible. So if they have some need which cannot be met with other commercial providers, they can do it with OpenWISP because they can program it. And I usually help them to do that. Some hardware vendors too, which have devices which are based on OpenWRT, look for um, look to OpenWISP as a solution for them to allow remote management, and mainly Wi-Fi providers, ISPs, but tech companies in general. So we have mainly it's either ISPs, municipalities for public Wi-Fi, or hardware vendors, or other tech companies who have some kind of networking service, and they use OpenWISP to automate some aspects of that. Does that answer the question, or have I
That,
missed
that
out
that
something?
that tells me a bit about what you know about your users coming into this.
Right. And why
What did
why
you
the
want to
insights,
know?
right? Yeah. Uh, Something that we've been wanting to know for a while. It's actually a subject that has been discussed in open source for a few years now, which is the question: how do you know how many people are using your work, and how many people are sticking with it, how many people are keeping it up to date, how many people drop out? it's hard, right? When you have a software as a service, as a web platform, it's easy to get these stats from the web application you have if you install some tracking software there. But if you have an open source software which is downloaded and deployed and run, then it's a bit harder, right? So that's the basic need. We wanted to know, and we need to know, how many people deploy our solution and how many deployments there are around, and how many of those deployments are kept up to date over time. So we want to know whether they just deploy it and never touch it, or they spend and invest time and resources into upgrading it, because that means they care. And then we want to know what features they use. And as a next step, we will also want to know of those features they use, which are the most critical to them. But for now, we are just focusing on knowing how many deployments, how many upgrades, and we call this heartbeat, how many heartbeats we have. And of those, we are collecting now. Well, we are going to collect more on that in a minute. The modules that they have enabled on their system, modules and Linux version of the server, because our system runs on Linux.
That's fantastic. That's a wide array of things to be gathering.
Yeah, it sounded easy, but now that we are testing it, we are finding some shortcomings that we need to solve, because we were quite confident, but now we started deploying it a little bit, and we started to see that we are collecting more data points than what we expected. So we have not launched it yet. We have merged it, but it was not enabled yet. So we were about to enable it, but as soon as we started to look at the data, we say, hey, wait a minute, there's too many points here. What's going on? So there's some points coming from continuous integration builds, which shouldn't be arriving. And one deployment seems to generate more than 1 point. So we need to fix this. And once we have fixed that, we will launch it. First, it will be available only to the users which install the development version. We have a section of the installation guide which explains to users how to use our development version. And as soon as possible, we are aiming within 2 months to release our new version, which we've been working for a while. It's been 2 years now. We haven't been able to release very often lately, but it's in a way it's a bad thing, of course, but in a way it's a good thing. It means that we were very busy working on a lot of things that we had in the pipeline. We have been also using our development version in production a lot. That's why we recommend users to, if they, because many users sometimes they want the new features, right? Because they need some specific feature that we are building or we have built. So that's why we say, okay, just use the development version. Why? Because we use it too with all the organizations that we work with. Most of them, especially when we do a new deployment and a new custom setup for an organization we work with, we deploy the latest version, because we have a lot of tests set up, that automated tests that give us confidence that it is working fine. And now here we have some tests too. We have a good number of tests, automated tests for this feature of the collecting, and we just found out that this is what is causing part of the issue of the repeated data that we are noticing. So we are just disabling that, and after that we need to test it manually on a few deployments, and once we have done that, fixed any problem with the data, we are able to launch it. I'm really excited. Also because we are working a lot on the website too. In parallel, we are working on improving the website, improving the docs, pooling. We have a fragmentation issue with the doc, because being our modular. Our system has a lot of documentation in different places. So we are working to pull it all in one place, publish it on one website, organize it properly. So we're very excited because we want to start collecting the data as soon as possible so that we may be able to see a difference between now and after finishing the restructuring of the website and the documentation. So over
Very
time, this should help us. So our goal is to start collecting specific metrics that should tell us with some confidence, with some degree of confidence, whether the work we are doing is impacting positively these metrics or not, because we want to improve these metrics, of course.
well. Congratulations on the new release. What version will the new one be?
Oh, we started to follow the same thing that OpenWRT does, and also many operating systems. We just used the year, so it's going to be 24, but it's going to be. Uh, there's been a number of releases really. Now
Very
I
cool.
I don't know the exact count, but the system has been around from 2008. So
So you told us a bit about the users you've got. Why go the privacy preserving measurement route? I mean, we love it. It's near and dear to our hearts. But why go that route yourself?
yeah, it's a very sensitive issue in the open source community. So it makes sense to use a tool which is not intrusive. We also don't want to annoy our users, and we want to be very transparent in what we collect and not. In fact, we also added a page on the website. If you go back there, we should find a page. We have already published it proactively. It's, let's see, measurements, collection of usage metrics here. Share screen. Let's see if I can do it. Not sure if I can.
You can do it. If not, I can type it in.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Let me know if you can see it.
Yeah.
Hey, there we go.
Nice collection of usage metrics. Perfect.
Yeah, so a short page explaining what we collect, why we collect it, and also from the program when it's installed, there's a message which informs the user whether they want to opt out. So we decided to go with the enabled by default, also because I mean there's not much. I mean we are not collecting anything special here. We are not collecting where the server is located, the IP. We are just collecting these things here. And actually, here's if we want to.
Oh, you do have it.
Oh, look
Okay,
at
this is what
that.
I really want to ask you about, if I'm honest. So, when we talked in Brussels,
Yeah,
we said, "Hey, I've got all this data coming into Matomo, and I can't quite get Matomo to show it to me in a way that's useful."
yeah, we figured out.
And then you figured it out. Can you tell us that story?
Okay, so we are collect. So first of all, I think we need to give a little bit of background, right? Explain to the listeners that we didn't use the JavaScript tracking because we did not want to add the JavaScript tracking in the web application, uh, because I am pretty sure that many people would opt out of that and probably be pissed off. So
Are you talking about the auto tracker or the JavaScript SDK?
in
Or both?
general, we didn't want to make the user think that we are tracking their web activity, because automatically they see Matomo and they will think, okay, they now are they surely tracking all the pages we look at, etc. While here, what we did is implement a little bit of code on the server side, which is triggered only. It's not triggered when the user opens the web page. It is triggered only when a new installation is performed or is upgraded, or there's something called a heartbeat, which is a periodic task that sends a point saying, I'm alive, I'm alive. So the goal is that over time we will see this graph growing, hopefully. And so we want to be able also to compare this data. So yeah, that's mainly the background is, okay, if we had used the Matomo thing, probably we would be able to see the usual views, charts of Matomo, right? Visitors, how many pages, where are they coming from, the map, etc. Now we don't have that because we are just collecting events here, events. And in the events, we have these categories. It's either install, OS detail, or heartbeat. And there's, yeah, mainly that, I think, right? So
That looks like a healthy amount of data you've got coming in as well.
as I was telling you, this is mostly tests
This
that
is
we
the
have
CI
been
server.
CI, yeah. CI. That's because it's not published anywhere yet. I mean, it's published on GitHub, but it's not active by default on the new installations. And that is good because we want to, after doing this test, we will make sure these points go to zero again. And once they go to zero, we will start rolling it out on a few instances to make sure that the results are exactly what we expect, right? So we put it on one and we expect one. We put it on two, we expect two, and so on. We will do it a few times until we are super confident that the data, because I mean, I don't want this thing to tell me that there's been 10 deployments if it was only one or two, right? I want it to be correct. Once we have that, then
The only thing
we,
worse than no data is the wrong data
yeah.
or incorrect data. It looks like you got a ton figured out here.
Yeah,
Can I
we've been
ask,
working on it
what
quite a while.
Matomo server are you using?
We are using our own instance that we already use for keeping track of the usage of our demo cloud system, because we have a demo of OpenWISP where we, in this demo thing, we use the JavaScript things, and we have the full, the usual charts. It's not working now. Not sure why. Okay, here it is. So we have the user visits and map. Not sure if somebody is using it now. This, yeah, there's always people looking at the demo. It's pretty
That's
cool.
cool.
That's wonderful.
Wow.
How
And
exciting.
so now we have one site here, which is number 5. If you look at the code, 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, so they probably start from 1. So number 5 is the, as I was saying, the tracking we do with clean sites. And so to look at the data, we go into behavior events. So if I want to see how many install, how many deployments, I will go here, I will go to install and click on row evolution. And here I can see it over time.
Wow.
So ideally, then I can also compare, pick a row to compare, and I could compare it with heartbeat here, because we will also get the data of the modules. So that for later. I will see here. Okay, so my goal is that over time, I should be able to compare these two lines, and I want to see that they don't diverge too much. So that if there were, say there were I don't know, 20, 30 deployments per day, I want to see that over time the heartbeat also increases. So I think that we will do also a few more iterations to see whether we can get a better chart that can plot this kind of information in a way that it's easier for us to understand. But this is already better than nothing. I mean, it's great. So we will also have a line with the upgrades.
Mm.
And of course, we will also be able to know which particular, for example, here I could do, let's go back. I could switch the secondary dimension, and then I would be able to know what specific version, right? For
I
here,
love that.
we'll have a chart with, this will be useful as we progress with the versions and we release a new version, also to know how many people are upgrading. And we will also have the information about the modules. This is the, for example, how many, this will give us statistics about the most used operating systems.
Mm.
Like right now in the test is Ubuntu. This gives us the kernel, and is at zero. This is actually GitHub actions. We figured this out. That's how we figured out that there was something wrong when I saw this, because we don't use Azure at the moment, mostly, and there were too many points from Azure. So I said this looks like CI, and in fact it's CI. So with this information now, we are also able to know what is the most deployed version, what
Mhm.
is the Linux distribution most widely used for the deployment, and also we will be able to know what modules are mostly used, which I think I have to go to event action to get that right. Kernel version, OS version, hardware platform, and then the modules here. Because there's some modules which, like the firmware upgrader, the monitoring, the network topology, and radius, which is here, and this one too, which are optional. So now they all look the same, mostly because it's test data, right? But when we will get the real data, I do not expect to have the same number for the optional modules. So controller will be probably always there, but we can be surprised, right? There could be some people using only the optional modules and not using the other ones. We have to see.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Now I'm really excited to have you back once you've got the real deal data in hand,
Yeah, if you want,
maybe
we
in the
can do
summer or
another
something like that
one.
after the release. This
Yeah,
is, I got to tell you, this is the most complete and thoughtful integration I've seen somebody do. I'm really excited to see the real deal data come through, and I love how much of it you're ahead of, right? Validating the data is actually what you want, and not just like,
Mm.
oh, we have data, it must be right. And hey, we're hosting our own Matomo server. We love to see first party hosting. A lot of folks are like, you know, running your own servers is hard. I know it's all in a day's work for you to run a server, but most organizations, most of the time, they're like, please just make it easy. And you're doing all the hard stuff. You got, I don't know how many different data points you just showed us. This is really, really exciting.
great to hear that. Yeah, we're really excited. This will be really, really, really useful for us in the long term. In fact, I'm already thinking of expanding this. But before jumping to that, I want
Warms
to
my
make sure
heart.
once we are done with this, the next iteration will be figure out a way to know what modules they're using more, right? And I had this discussion with you that maybe we can collect the size of the database tables used by those modules or something like that, something along those lines. Collect some generic information that tells all right the range of amount of devices, the range of amount of users, the range of the data, the size of the tables in the database, things like that. We want
Right
to
on.
know. With that, we will be able to know, okay, users are really heavy on the device management or the monitoring or the firmware grade, etc. That will give us also more light.
So you're
And
telling me
I
that
guess
not
that
only
also with usage, we will figure out. I mean, we cannot know everything now. We'll probably, after a while, we will get more awareness and decide how to tweak it. Sorry.
I was saying not only are you showing us maybe the most complete deployment we've seen, but you also might have the most ambitions for what to do in the future with it already before it's even out the door. This is great.
Yeah, I hope that these metrics could give us some potential for future funding opportunities too. I mean, if we are able to demonstrate that we are providing value to some people, then I guess it will be easier to convince stakeholders to invest more time and resources to improve the system.
Right on. Well, thank you for coming on.
Welcome, and
Yeah.
thank you for having me.
I
You've set
didn't
a,
have
you've
to
set a
ask
high bar
anything.
for next time. We're gonna have so many more follow-ups having seen all this. Bring your tea, and thank you.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you so
Cheers.
much.
On
If you
to the
want to learn
next one.
more, visit openwisp.org. And
We
Absolutely.
can
Federico,
do another one
yes, we'll do another
once we have
podcast.
the real data
Yeah,
collected
Looking
for a
forward
few
to it.
months and look at it together.
that's perfect. Federico, maybe you want to put or tell me your contact info if people want to get in contact about OpenWISP specifically. Is there a good way to do that?
Yeah, sure. So we, well, email, you
Okay.
can do that via email. You can write to, well, an easy one is support at openwisp.io. Get in touch. We are on Twitter. We are on GitHub. We have on our website. If you go to the support page, there's a number of sections where we link our mailing list, our chat. We have a couple of chats. We have the general chat for questions. It's a matrix chat. Actually, here, let me. This page lists all the ways that people can get in touch with us. GitHub, chat, mailing list, email, other emails for reporting security issues, commercial support, Google Summer of Code, something we do every year. Also, this year we're going to do it. We have been accepted as a mentoring organization.
Oh, wonderful.
We've been mentoring newcomers into open source for 8 years in a row.
That's a long time.
That's fantastic.
That is really great. Amazing. Well, thank you again, yes, for joining us to discuss OpenWISP and Clean Insights and what you're learning, how you deployed it, and some of the the challenges, but also the opportunities and excitement around it. So we really appreciate that, and we can't wait to have you back. What's your
Thanks.
timeline? Like, we should maybe look for some insights in summer
Yeah, definitely.
or our summer, I guess, North American summer. Maybe
Exactly.
sounds like you're
North,
already in
North
summer.
Hemisphere summer. No, I get it. I am also from the Northern Hemisphere. So I'm also used to thinking as summer as that period.
Yeah,
But here is the opposite.
right. So
Well, it's never really winter here. Far
no,
away.
always hot.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
it's the hottest place on the planet, together with Brazil on average.
Whoa.
The highest average temperature in the latest years.
I would never
Brazil and
survive.
Paraguay.
That's crazy.
You gotta get used to it.
I bet. Yeah. Take some getting used to. Well, thank you again for joining, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Cheers.
Bye. Let's get some music. I think I can do this. Maybe. Dun, 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 to send us out. Is it working? Do you hear it? All right. Thank
Thank you very
you. See you.
Later.
Have a great day.
You too.